Hey guys, it's Ms. Ayers. You guys have a Macbeth reflection coming up, so we should probably talk about it. Okay, let's remember the main goal behind this assignment. It's really to help you begin to trust your perceptions. So you're going to go through Act 1 where we saw a lot of things happen, and you're just going to pick one line that strikes your attention. And you're going to write a reflection about what seems important or weird or absurd or noteworthy about it. But your job is to trust if something gets your attention, it's because you're smart and you're perceptive and you have a point of view. So pick a quote. Okay, so let's say this is the quote you pick. This quote from Duncan when he talks about the old Thane of Cawdor. There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. The great news, guys, is if you think something is important, you really can't be wrong. So let's say this is the quote you selected, it grabbed your attention, and it's the one you're going to use. Well, the good news is you're right. It did get your attention. So great, you can't be wrong in thinking a quote's important. You're a smart person who can trust your perceptions. You can be ineffective in the way you blend quotes into your paragraph, and that's part of what I'm going to grade you on. So let's talk about how to do this well. For purposes of this assignment, you're going to blend your quote using either a full sentence method or a tagline method. So let's talk about those. So here's an example of a full sentence method of introducing a quote. We introduce this quote by using a full sentence. A line that strikes me as significant comes when Duncan admits he's been naive about the former Thane of Cawdor, and then we provide our quote. What we have is a full sentence that leads to our quotation, and it reads very naturally when a reader hears it or reads it. Another way we can smoothly incorporate a quote is by introducing it through a tagline. A tagline is a method of blending a quote that is not a complete sentence, but combined with the quote reads like a complete sentence. So we do that here with this tagline or introduction. A line that strikes me as significant is when Duncan says about the former Thane of Cawdor, and then we lead into our quote. So here are a few things I want you to notice. It's vitally important we introduce a quote in order for our quotations to make sense and read naturally and our thinking to be clear. Some things that are unique about quoting Shakespeare is the way we give our citations afterwards. Instead of giving page numbers in parentheses, we give the act number, the scene number, and the line number. That's just something unique about poetry and Shakespeare. And also, between line numbers, we have these little slashes here because, of course, Macbeth is written poetically, and so we show where the lines break with those slashes. But most of all, I want to make sure your quotes read naturally. So that's how we accomplish that. So here's an example of what not to do when you're introducing a quote. Here's an example of a quote that's not blended. It's interjected into the paragraph, but it's not actually introduced, certainly not as smoothly as it should be. So let's read through this. A line that seems significant is when Duncan talks about the former Thane of Cawdor. There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Okay, so this seems like a fine point, but it means a lot. By having a period here, instead of a colon, instead of a comma, what we're doing is we're stopping one thought, and then we're switching speakers from ourselves to Shakespeare, and we haven't really prepared our reader for it. That is really disorienting. So you need to blend the quote through a tagline or through a sentence. And you'll know if you're doing it right if here you have a colon or a comma instead of a period. Also, of course, make sure to cite line breaks with slashes. Make sure to include act, scene, and line numbers. And also, guys, make sure your quotes aren't too long. You don't want to look like you're padding your writing with massive quotes. So condense the quotes down to an appropriate length, like 3-4 lines is probably the maximum. Okay, guys, that should be everything. Good luck with the assignment. Let me know if you have any questions.